things is number one, understanding your audience, tailor your message, build your data strategy, and measure your results. So we're gonna really take a deep dive and build your data strategy, and then touch on measure your results as well. But real quickly, first step, share your offerings. So been a lot of discussion about websites and getting the information out there about what you have to offer. So really getting to know your destination, making sure that the information that you're presenting is featured prominently, so people don't have to dig for it or search for it, communicate it thoroughly, and it's accessible by all. And the only note I'll make here, because again, we've had a lot of conversation about this, is that I found when I was doing my research, a thorough piece is really important. So if you have a roundup of what is accessible at your destination, make sure that when people are clicking the links there, that accessibility information doesn't just poof, go up in smoke. That when you're linking off, there's a continuation of that information, and it's in all the places, like in your hotel listings and things like that on your sites. Understanding your audience. So again, a lot of conversation has been had these last few days about what it is that travelers that have additional needs are looking for in the travel experience. So really understand the type of sector that matches with your product and what you have to offer in accessibility, and making sure that you really understand their needs and what their desires, not just needs, also their desires are, so that you can properly communicate. And then tailor your message. So this seems maybe a little bit obvious, but we want to be specific and authentic. So many great conversations we just had about that. Find the right voice, make sure it's authentic to both your offerings, your destination, what you can provide, as well as to your audience. All right, now we get into the meat and potatoes of what Sojourn does well. Build your data strategy. And so there's 4 components to this piece. And we've worked, so the 4 components, I'll just read out first, are key contextual targeting, custom site targeting, Sojourn-specific intent audiences, and then our accessible audiences. So what do those mean? So keyword contextual targeting and site targeting you're probably kind of familiar with. So those are lists of keywords and of websites that this specific audience is looking for. So we worked with Travelability and some other experts in this space to come up with those lists of words and sites that are important to each of the different sectors within accessible travel. And then our specific data, our intent audiences. So what we do is those hundreds of partners and millions of data pieces that are coming to us in real time all the time are showing us who's looking for a destination like yours. Maybe they're looking for your destination, maybe they're looking for a competitive or similar destination, but we know that they're looking actively today for an experience like your destination offers. So we take that piece of the data, and then we look at the audience targeting. So within that data, who's looking for accessible rooms? Who's looking for those specific types of booking nuances? And we bring all of that together to be very specific in finding your travelers that are specific to this unique audience and that sort of slice of the sector, so that we can target them in real time. So that is the kind of how and the who, but what about when? So most destinations are marketing right on the very beginning of sort of that traveler journey. They're trying to decide, maybe they're doing some research, they're trying to decide where to go. That's a really important piece. We want to make sure that we're utilizing all of these tools to be able to do that, and we can. But the other piece is that education piece. So once they've booked, that sweet window between the booking and the arrival in order to tell them what to expect. And this was something that we heard, I know I heard in a couple conversations, is that, hotels, there's some resources for hotels, there's some resources for dining maybe and transportation, but activities are kind of a gap. What activities are accessible for the type of travel that I need and desire? And so this is a great opportunity for destinations to reach folks in that in between. They've booked, they're coming to your destination. Let's start targeting them with that education piece. Make sure that they know all of the amazing activities that are accessible in your destination. And then where? So we want to make sure we have a multi-channel strategy. We're leveraging this data in this very specific targeting in all of the different ways we can, so that we're having conversations where people are looking for the information. So this is important because, with very few exceptions, accessible travelers are looking at places and consuming information, are watching connected television, all kinds of things, right? The same that other travel planners are, especially when we're talking about their companions. They're not consuming all the different information. We don't need to be having conversations with them only in those spaces that they're looking at travel. We can have those conversations with them across the board and be more effective that way. And so then in the end, we're measuring our results, right? We want to see how did our campaign work for us. So we provide an economic impact report that we integrate cookieless attribution through Azira foot traffic, as well as that same data that we use to target those folks, we can use to measure their bookings. So we can see, once they were exposed to the campaign, did they book a hotel, did they book a flight, a rental car, et cetera, in my destination? And then we can utilize your average spend per visitor to extrapolate out an economic impact for your destination. So we can do that, and then we also see Azira foot traffic, so we can see their mobile devices that were exposed to the campaign and then showed up in the destination as well. We also work with third-party measurement tools, so Tourism Economics, Arrivalist, Adara Impact, Zartico are all offering now third-party campaign measurement. We'll work with them to measure as well. Okay, those are the 5 steps that we've identified. Share your offerings, understand your audience, tailor your message, build that specific data strategy, and then measure the results.